Hello and welcome back to the Limitless Performer podcast, the podcast where we talk about well-being in the performing arts, because being your best on stage starts with looking after yourself off stage. Hello everybody, welcome back to the podcast. A special hello if you're listening to this in the dressing room between shows or on the train home after a crazy tech run, or maybe if you're not doing a festive contract this year and December is just feeling a bit heavier than usual. Wherever you are, this episode is for you. Today we're diving into Panto season, Christmas, and why the festive period hits performers so differently. Because let's be real, December can be magical and brutal at the same time. We'll talk about the full reality, 3 show days, being away from home, living in digs with strangers, and trying to stay cheery when you're running on nothing. But also the buzz, the joy, the backstage giggles, the kind of theatre magic that you only get at Christmas. We'll touch on the loneliness that creeps in, the family questions, the what's next panic, and yet those totally normal feelings if you didn't get a festive contract this year. Gentle reminders included, honesty too, and hopefully a bit of comfort. Let's start with a quick personal story. Panto has been part of my life since I was 7. I pretty much did it every single year as a kid, and honestly, I love it. Christmas doesn't feel like Christmas for me without blue eyeshadow, bright red lipstick, and some truly questionable, cheesy choreography. It's practically in my DNA at this point. I shamelessly love a panto. I remember when I was cast in my first panto as a grown-up dancer. I was 12, but still, dancing with the lanies and feeling like I was on top of the world. The 3 show days, the adrenaline-fueled chaos, the dashing to Greg's for a sausage roll or grabbing a meal deal in between shows and thinking, this is it, I'm living the dream. But also the exhaustion hit, and instantly the guilt, because you're supposed to be joyful at Christmas, right? Grateful that you've been given the opportunity to perform. You're supposed to love every second. I had this tiny wobble moment. Oh my gosh, is this what performing's really like? All the hours, the pressure, the expectation to be on constantly. Loving performing doesn't mean you won't get overwhelmed. And honestly, it ended up being such a growth moment for me. So, if you're feeling excited, exhausted, homesick, grateful, or overwhelmed all at once, you're not broken. You're not doing December wrong. You're just human in a very intense season. Alright, let's talk about what makes this time of year so uniquely tricky and how we can make it a little kinder on ourselves. Let's talk honestly about what Panto season actually feels like from the inside, the parts the audience never sees. You've got those 3 show days starting as early as 9 in the morning, back-to-back performances that test not just your stamina, but your voice, your focus, your mood. You go from full joy, sparkles, glitter, and energy on stage to sitting in the dressing room between shows thinking, right, how do I do that 2 more times today? And that's normal. That's the job. For many performers too, you're also doing all of this in a new city, away from your usual support system, your routines, your friends, your family. Sometimes you're even spending Christmas Day alone or with people that you met 2 weeks ago, because you had a show on Christmas Eve and you've got a matinee on Boxing Day. That can feel strange and disorienting, even if you love the work that you're doing. And then there's the digs. Living with castmates or strangers, sharing kitchens, navigating other people's habits, trying to protect your energy, knowing you can't fully switch off. You don't want any arguments or awkward moments or tension hanging over you for the next show day. And the Panto routine just isn't sustainable. Gym, cooking, a proper bedtime, not a chance. Your whole rhythm shifts into a survival mode of sorts. add in the inevitable cast cold that spreads like wildfire, you've then got the emotional contrast of pure joy on stage to an absolute collapse off stage. Add the social balance of suddenly forming intense friendships while also desperately needing your personal space. It's a lot. But here's the thing I want you to remember. None of these experiences mean that you're failing, ungrateful, or not cut out for this. Panto season demands so much from you physically, mentally, emotionally, even when you love it. And there is so much joy in it. The backstage chaos, the kids' reactions, the adrenaline, the little cast traditions, the moments where you're on stage thinking, oh my goodness, this is ridiculous, and I absolutely love it. That joy is real. The exhaustion is real. Both can exist at the same time. So if you feel overwhelmed, emotional, or disconnected during Panto season, nothing is wrong with you. This time of year asks a lot, more than most people will ever understand. Let's break this down into 3 simple areas: body, boundaries, and balance. Think of these as your non-negotiables, the things that make the difference between surviving December and actually feeling human during it. Let's start with body, because honestly, Panto season is a full body sport. Your voice, your joints, your nervous system, everything is working overtime. And you don't need a perfect routine, but a few tiny habits like these genuinely help. A quick 10-minute warm-up in the morning, just some spine rolls, hip mobility, a bit of breath work, they can make such a difference before you dive straight into the chaos. And please don't skip a vocal cool down at the end of the night. I know we're all desperate to get out of the theatre, but 5 minutes of gentle slides and sighs will save you when you hit those 3 show days. Between shows, aim for food that's easy and actually fuels you. Bagels, bananas, yogurts, pasta, wraps. Not perfection, just something your body can burn. And hydrate. Honestly, your voice is doing Olympic level work. It needs the help. Next is boundaries, because Panto is loud and social and non-stop. And if you're in digs or living with your castmates, you never fully switch off. You don't want to make anything awkward for the next show day. You don't want the reputation of being difficult, so you end up tiptoeing around people and running on nothing. You're allowed to say, I love you, but I'm going to hide in my room for an hour. That's not rude, it's maintenance. And then there's balance, which is all about your mental and emotional well-being. This time of year brings up everything. Excitement, stress, homesickness, comparison, it's all normal. Just acknowledging how you feel can take the pressure off. Try a 60-second grounding moment before the curtain rises. Deep breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth, just to reset your nervous system. And try not to compare your December to anyone else's. Everyone is in a totally different season of life and their career. And on your days off, rest. Proper rest. Not catching up on chores, not fitting in a million plans. Actual recovery. Resting properly is a big part of sustaining the work. Now, I want to take a moment to speak directly to the performers who aren't doing a Panto or a festive show this year. Whether it was your choice, your circumstances, or simply just the way that the industry fell, I know that December can feel heavier than people realise, because this time of year shines a spotlight on where you think you should be. Suddenly, it feels like everyone else has contracts, festive photos, cast families, glittery costumes, and you're watching from the outside. So let's slow that spiral right down. Firstly, you are not behind. You are not less talented. December is not and has never been a measure of your worth as a performer. Your value doesn't change because you're resting instead of doing a Panto. Your break is valid. Maybe you needed this financially. Maybe your body needed the downtime. Maybe your creative battery has been blinking red for months. Maybe you just didn't want to. All of those reasons are valid, and none of them make you any less dedicated. Your movement might look different this month too, and that's okay. If you're not dancing for 8 hours a day, your body is naturally going to shift into a softer rhythm. Movement doesn't have to be intense to count, and slowing down doesn't mean that you're losing momentum. Resting isn't falling behind, it's preparing for whatever's next. Some seasons are for blooming, others are for recalibrating. Both are just as important as each other. You don't have to earn your festive food, and this season is not a performance review of your body. You're allowed to enjoy what's on the table without calculating how many shows you should have done to deserve it. And if you're spending the holidays at home, remember family time is still real life. It's not a pause button. Rest, connection, slowing down, these aren't gaps between your career. They're part of keeping you grounded. Your career is so much bigger than 1 month. December is not the peak of your potential. January exists. Spring auditions exist. New projects, new timing, unexpected opportunities, they all exist. And honestly, some of the most successful performers I know had completely quiet Decembers. Not because they weren't talented, but simply because it's the rhythm of this industry. Your worth isn't seasonal. Your magic isn't tied to a contract. And if this December looks different for you, you're not missing out. You're building life differently right now. Let's talk about part of the festive season that most performers dread. Family expectations and the awkward questions that come with being a performer. Because while everyone else is catching up on their corporate promotions or new houses or stable routines, the performer path can feel harder to explain. Not because you're doing anything wrong, but because the industry doesn't always fit neatly into the timelines most people understand. So you end up hearing the classics. What's next? Have you been in anything I've seen lately? Oh, are you still doing the acting thing? Or when are you getting a real job? And even if they're said with love, they can sting, especially if you're already feeling wobbly about where you are. So, here are a few ways to respond while keeping your boundaries intact. Firstly, keep it light and breezy. I'm working on a few things, but right now I'm resting and recharging. Short, confident, and it tells them exactly what you want them to know. No extra details required. Option 2, firm but kind. My career doesn't always make sense from the outside, but I'm exactly where I need to be. This is great when you want to gently educate without starting a debate. Option 3, redirection. Let's talk about you. How's your year been? This is the gold standard for changing the subject and keeping the peace. Option 4 is boundaries with humor. If I knew what was next, I'd tell you. A little laugh, a little truth, no over-explanation. And here's the most important reminder. Family confusion is not your failure. Your path doesn't need to make sense to everyone, just to you. You're allowed to protect your peace this season, even with the people that you love. December can feel like a strange month for performers, but instead of seeing it as the season of stress, or loneliness, or not working until next year, I want you to try reframing it as something else entirely. December can be the reset before the new year. It can be the space that you need to reconnect with who you are outside of performing. It can be your head start on the goals that you want to take into January. It can be a moment to look back at your year without judgment. I'm going to start season 2 of the podcast in January, and we're going to start with goal setting. Grounded, compassionate, sustainable goal setting. So this downtime this month, this quieter chapter, it's actually the perfect preparation. You're not falling behind, you're getting ready. To wrap up today's episode, I want to leave you with a short, grounding journaling exercise. something you can do tonight or whenever you need a moment of clarity this month. So let's find a quiet space, grab your journal or open up your notes app and take a few slow, deep breaths before you begin. These prompts are intentionally simple, but they open the door to a lot of honesty and self-awareness. Write these down. 1. What am I proud of surviving, learning, or achieving this year? Not just the big wins, the quiet resilience, the small shifts, the things that nobody else saw. 2. What do I need to feel supported this December? Think practically and emotionally. Rest, routine, boundaries, connection, solitude, and creativity. 3. Where do I want to direct my energy next year and why? Let it be intentional, not reactive. What actually matters to you? 4. What can I do this December that will make 2026 me proud? Visualize the grounded, confident, well-supported performer that you're becoming. Let whatever comes up be enough. There is no right way to answer, only an honest way. This is your space to reflect, reset, and gently prepare for what's next. And that is a wrap for today. Whether you're backstage covered in glitter or at home wondering what's next, you're not alone. Remember, your worth is not tied to a contract, a role, or a season. You are enough exactly as you are right now. If you enjoyed this episode, it would mean the world to me if you could follow the podcast, leave a 5-star rating, or like the video if you're listening on YouTube. It really helps more performers find these conversations. And if you want to keep up with daily reflections, tips, and behind-the-scenes chats, come hang out with me over on Instagram and TikTok at Limitless Performing. You're allowed to rest. You're allowed to grow slowly. You're allowed to take up space this season.